So now in this module we will learn about applying the properties on the simple geometries, and I'll start with applying the properties such as the color and line type on our AutoCAD geometries. So here we have these two drawings, and actually both of them are same drawings, but in the first case we have properties applied on some of the objects, and in this case we have a simple drawing without any properties. So here I'll start with the color property first. So in this case, let's look at this part of the geometry, and here you can see that for all of these line objects the color has been assigned as yellow. Also there are some other different colors, but here I'll first start with applying the yellow color on this part of the geometry. Now in order to apply the properties, there are two different ways. Either you can directly apply the property on the object, or you can apply the property on the layer, and you can put those objects on the layer. We will learn about layer in upcoming modules, but in this module we will only stick with the direct application of properties on the objects. So now we need to apply the yellow color on the similar objects of this geometry. So I'll first select all of the geometries on which we need to apply the property, which is the color. So I'll select them just like this. Here we have it. Now we have made the selection. Now after selecting the objects, go to this properties panel, and from here select this drop down, which is the color drop down. Now here you will see lots of different colors, and you can select the appropriate color from this color box. Now if this color box is not sufficient, if you want even more colors, then you can select this more colors option. Now this will take you to index color, true color, and color books tab, and you can select your color using any of these methods. So obviously we can use this index color tab, and we can select our required color from here. So here we have the yellow color. Let's select it, click on OK, and the property is now applied here, as you can see. So now let's have a look at the line type property of AutoCAD drawings. So here we have this drawing, and here in this case if you look closely you'll find that these lines are quite different. Actually they are not separate units, it's a single line which looks like these broken lines. Now if you want to apply this kind of line type on the object here also, then you need to select the appropriate line type from the properties. Now this is the line type which we'll use here, and you can see this line type in this line type drop down. So let's click on this line type drop down, and here you'll see this hidden line type. In your case, you will not find all of these line types in your list. In your list, you may have by block, continuous, by layer. So these will be the three line types: the by layer, by block, and continuous, that will be available in your list. The rest of the line types need to be loaded. And for applying the current line type here, I will also load the line type. So let's go to other and click on this load option. Now here we have a complete list of line type, and you can select the appropriate line type whichever you want from this list. So I'll select this ISO-line type. Now click on OK, and now the ISO-line type is also added in our list. Now we'll apply this line type to our objects. Let's look at this drop down. We have the ISO-line type here. So once the line type is added to your list, go to the objects and select them, the objects on which you want to apply the line types. So I'll carefully select these objects. Okay, so here's the selection. Now go to this drop down and select the line type here and press escape key. Okay, so now the line type is applied, but you'll not see any difference here, and you may find this situation in your drawing also. Although as you can see here, we have this line type which is quite visible, but in this case, even after applying the line type, it may look something like this. So for these cases, you need to actually change the scale of these line types, and to change the scale of these line types, you need to select the lines first. So let's select the lines on which the line type has been applied. Okay, and now go to the property palette. So right click and go to properties. Now here we have this line type scale option which is set to 1. Now you need to ensure an appropriate value which can be greater than 1 or less than 1 depending upon the scale of your drawing. So I'll select a smaller value for this case. So let's click on this and let's change its value to 0.008 and press enter. Well, this is very small value. So let's increase its value to 0.02. Press enter. Now that looks appropriate. So I'll again increase this value to 0.05 and that's better, but still we can change it to 0.04 and that looks quite perfect. So I'll now close this property palette, press escape key. Here we have this line type. So now you can see the appropriate line type applied here with the correct scale. So in this way you can change the scale of your line types also, and depending upon the scale of this line type it will look either like this or like this. So this was all about adding colors and a line type with appropriate scale to the AutoCAD drawings. In the previous video, I've told you about changing the color and line type of an object in AutoCAD. In this video, I will tell you about changing the line weight and transparency. Here, let's look at this drawing and you'll notice that in this drawing, we have this line with a different line weight. The width of this line is more than the width of its counterparts here. When you'll compare it, you'll simply see the difference. Now, let's look at this part of the drawing here. Here we have the simple drawings. Now, in order to change the line weight of this part of the drawing, you need to apply the line weight property. And in this case, a line weight of 0.3 has been applied. Now, to change the line weight, go to this properties panel and select this line weight drop down. Here you will see different line weights starting from 0.00 mm. Obviously that will be the default line weight. And if you want to see the default line weight, simply go to this line weight settings and check it. So here we have the default line weight of 0.25 mm. So that's the default line weight which is currently applied to all of these objects. Now let's click on OK. Let's go to this drop down, and now if you want to even thicken the lines, you can select the respective options, or if you want to increase the thickness, you can select 0.3, 0.35 and all of these line weights. So in this case, we have a line weight of 0.30 applied on this line, and we'll select the same line weight for this part. So let's now select the geometries on which you need to apply the line weight. So carefully select these lines. Now the lines are selected. Let's go to the drop down and select the 0.3 line weight. Now press escape key. So here we have this line weight. Now in this case, you can simply see the line weight here, but in most of the cases, the line weight will not be visible even after applying the line weight. And in order to make it visible, you need to ensure that this line weight status bar option is activated. So in this case, we have this LW display active. Now you may or may not find this LW display or line weight display option on the status bar, and if this option is not available on the status bar, then go to this customization and select this line weight. So make sure that a check mark is visible along this line weight option. Now once the line weight display is here, click on it to activate it, and then you'll be able to see the line weights. Now let's go to the original drawing and let's look at this part. Here we have transparency applied to this part of the geometry. Now if you compare it with this part of the geometry, you'll notice that this one is quite bright with 0% transparency, and here a transparency of nearly 70% has been applied. So that's why the object look a little bit dim than these objects. Now in order to apply the transparency, again you need to go to the properties. So in this case, I'll first select the objects. So here we have it. These objects are selected. Let's select these two lines as well, and let's make the selection here also. So now the objects are selected. Let's go to this properties panel, expand it, and here we have the transparency option. Now you can increase this transparency here simply by entering the value, and this value ranges from 0 to 90. So 90 is the maximum transparency that you can apply. So let's type a transparency value of 70 and press tab key. So here we have it. Now you can apply the transparency in this way, or you can also move this slider in order to apply the transparency, and in this case I'll obviously keep the transparency value to 70. So let's type 70 and press tab or enter key. Now let's look back in the drawing area, press escape. Here we have it. The transparency has been applied. In order to see this object properly, just like this one, you can also change the color. So you already know how to change the color. So let's select all of these objects. Let's change its color to yellow. Okay, now you can compare it with this object, and obviously we have the transparency, but here in this case also you need to ensure that this transparency status bar option is active, because if you turn it off just like this, even after applying the transparency will not be visible. So if you don't find this transparency option here on the status bar, go to the customization and make sure that this transparency is checked. Once this is checked, you'll find this option and click on it to activate it. Similarly, you need to ensure that line weight display should be checked and it should be on here. So if you turn it off, line weight will not be visible even after applying the line weight. So let's go to this option and turn it on. So this was all about line weight and transparency option of AutoCAD. So far we have applied different properties in our AutoCAD drawing, and in order to check the properties which are applied on the objects, you can take help of property palette. So the property palette can be accessed simply by right clicking anywhere in the drawing area and selecting the property option. So obviously we don't have the property option here as none of the object is selected. Now in order to make the property palette active, you need to select the object first. So in this case I'll select the object, this part of the object, then right click, select the properties. Now we have the property option. So this is a simple property palette, and you can obviously stretch it, contract it. You can change the size of this property palette. Also you can scroll it down here to see even more values, and if you want you can even dock it to the side of this window. So when I move it towards this side, you'll notice that it will automatically dock here. Now we have the property palette always available here. Now this property palette is displaying the line properties of 7 lines which we have selected, as you can see here. So we have these 7 lines selected, and all of these properties are related to those 7 lines. Now let's press escape key, and now we don't have any selection here. So let's select any other object, and in this case I'll select this object here, and now this is displaying the property of this particular line. Similarly, if you change it to, let's say, this circle, it will only display the properties of that circle. As you can see here, we have the circle now. So in this way you can check the properties of different objects using the property palette. Now you can also undock it here, just move it outside this corner, and here we have it. Now let's look at the properties which can be seen using this property palette. So in the first situation, we will have a look at this part of the drawing. So here we have applied the yellow color. So let's select these lines. Okay. Now let's look at the property palette. So we can see that the color has been applied as yellow, and here using this property panel we have applied the yellow color. So that's the same property. Now if you want to change the property from here, you can do that directly. So let's click on this, and there will be a drop down menu just like this, and you can see the same drop down menu here also. So when you click on it, you have the same drop down menu. Now we have an option of more colors here. Select color, and we have the select color window which was also available here. Now from here, let's change this color to green. Click on OK, and you can see the change here. The green color has been applied. So you can change the properties of any of these objects directly using the property palette and also using the properties panel. Now let's press Ctrl Z to get back to the original properties. Now we have also changed the properties of these lines. So here we have this line, and we have changed the line type of this line. So let's select this line, and now here on this line type option, you'll see this AutoCAD dash line type. So let's click on this drop down, and now you can again change the line type if you want from this list. But in this list, obviously only those line types will be shown which are loaded in the drawing. So if you want to load any other line type, click on this other and you can load it. Also, we have the line type scale of 0.04, which we have already seen. You can obviously change this value if you want according to your requirement. We also have some other properties, for example, the layer, which we will look in a moment. So you can change the layer of this line from this drop down, and there are also other options, for example the layer panel, from where you can change it, and we'll obviously look at this in the upcoming modules. Now let's look at one more option here. So let's press escape key, and here we have the line weight. We have applied the line weight, select it, and now we have the line weight option, which is 0.3. Obviously you can change this value also. So let's change it to some other line weight, and we have it here. So this line weight is now changed. You can compare it with the remaining line weights. So we not only have these many properties, we also have some additional properties here. So let's now change it to once again back to 0.3 line weight. So I'll scroll it upwards, change its value to 0.3. Now we can also see some other properties related to these lines or other geometries. For example, let's zoom into this area. Now here we have a circle. Let's select it. We have all the properties now which are related to the circle. Now let's scroll it down. And now let's look at the geometry panel here. Now in this geometry panel, we have some very important information here. For example, the radius, which is 57.5 for this circle, the diameter, circumference, and the area. So these informations can be directly accessed from the property panel. You can not only access these options, but you can also change these values. So for example, in this case, let's say that we want to change the radius of this circle from 57.5 to, let's say, 50. So let's type 50, press enter, and you'll notice that the radius of this circle will change in this drawing also. Similarly, if you change the value here, the new property or the new value will be updated directly here in the property panel. And also when you change the radius, the diameter and all the related values will get updated automatically. So let's press escape key and press Ctrl Z. Now this is one way of accessing the properties of any object. There is also one more method of accessing the properties, and you can do that by list command. So here also I'll select the same circle. Now let's assume that we want to find its properties. You can simply select the object, go to this properties panel, select the list option, and here we have it. Almost all of the properties which are quite important, for example the radius, circumference, and area, and you can see these properties. Obviously you cannot change these properties from this list, but you can take a reference of these values when required. You can also match properties of one object from your drawing to the other object. For example, in this case, we have this transparency applied on this part of the geometry. Let's assume that we want to apply the transparency, the same transparency, same color, and all the other properties on other part of the geometry. And in this case, we will apply it on these lines. So for that, you need to use the match properties command, and the shortcut for match properties is MA. So simply type MA, which is short for match attributes or match property, you can say. Now press enter. Now select the source object, which is this one obviously. Now select the destination object and click on the destination object, and the properties will get applied on those objects. Simply go on and click on those objects and the properties will be applied just like this. Press enter when you want to exit the command. In a similar way, let's say that we want to apply the same line type here, the line type which is applied here, and with the same line type width and the line type scale and everything, all these properties you want to copy from here and you want to paste it on this line. For that, again, we can use MA, the match properties command. So type MA, press enter. Now click on the source object, which is this one, and now directly go to the destination object and keep on clicking, and the same properties will be applied here just like this. It's quite easy and also a very handy tool if you want to apply lots of properties. So in this way you can transfer the properties of one object to another very easily using the match property command. And that was all about the property settings of AutoCAD drawing. In this video, I will tell you about model space viewports. So here, this is the model space and the drawing area also. Now currently we have a single drawing area in which we can obviously make any drawing, but you can divide it into multiple parts, and that will help you in viewing the same drawings from different perspectives. Now to make things clear, I'll start with the View tab. So go to this View tab, and now here we have this Model Viewports panel. Now from this Model Viewports panel, click on this viewport configuration and you'll see a long list of viewports. So these are the different kind of viewports that you can make here. So I'll select this 4 equal. Now as the name suggests, it will make these 4 viewports. Now they are simply the same viewports, but they are divided into 4 different parts. To make things more clear, I'll select a new drawing. So I'll go to 6.5a, and here we have this simple tree in our drawing area. Now once again here, I'll go to the viewport configuration and I'll change it to 4 equal. Now you can see that in all of these viewports, we have the same tree. Now obviously we have one special viewport here which has this blue boundary, and that is the active viewport. So in rest of the viewports you will see this simple cursor, but in the active viewport you will see normal AutoCAD cursor. Now if you want to make any other viewport active, simply click on that once and that will become active as shown by this blue bounding box and also these navigation tools. These viewports are resizable, so if you want to change the size of this viewport, you can simply click on this boundary right at the center, and when this double-sided arrow appears, move it and that will change the size of the viewport. If you want to change the size in the horizontal direction, select it, move it like this. If you want to change the total size of viewports, click on this center, the intersection of all of these viewport line, click here, and now you can dynamically change the size of all of these viewports like this. You can not only change the size of these viewports, but you can even make more viewports. Now to make more viewports, go to this simple plus icon. So you'll see this plus icon on the top of this boundary line between the viewports, and when double-sided arrow appears, click and bring this green line. So that will be the partition line for your new viewport. Click here and we have 2 more viewports here. Similarly, if you want to add a viewport here, click on this plus icon and add it like this. Now we have lots of viewports in the drawing area. Let's say that we want to merge some of them. So to merge them together, select this join tool from the model viewports panel, and now click on the first viewport, click on the second one, and they are now joined together. Similarly, if you want to join both of them, select join, select the first one and the second one, and they are joined. And the final viewport will take the configuration of the initial viewport. So wherever you clicked first will become the view of our final joined viewport. In this case, if you want to make any viewport final and if you want to make a full screen viewport, then select it. So here we have it. Now let's say that we want to make this as the final full screen viewport. I'll bring this object here in the center, and now double click on this plus icon. So that will make it completely full screen viewport. To restore it back, double click on this minus sign icon, and here we have it. The viewport is now restored again. In order to save the configuration of these viewports, you can create a named viewport. So go to the named option here and go to new viewports and give this viewport a name. So I'll name it as our viewport and click on OK. So now this condition or this configuration of viewport is now saved. In order to restore the viewports, you can click on this restore, and here we have it, the normal default viewport. And if you want to go back to the same viewport, obviously you need to go to this named option, and from this named viewports, select our viewport, click on OK. And here we have it. The viewport is now restored. This model space viewport is especially helpful for 3D drawings where you want to view the same 3D drawing from different perspectives. So to explain that, I'll select this tab. Here we have a 3D drawing, the 3D USB plug. Now let's say that we want to view it from different angles. For that, I'll go to this corner and I'll simply double click on this viewport controls, the minus sign. And now we have the same drawing but from different angles. So we have the front view, the left view, and obviously the isometric view, and you can even change this view to top view or whatever view you want. So if you make changes in any single viewport here, the change will also appear in the rest of the viewports. And that's quite a great way of editing your drawings if you want to see the results directly in other planes also. So once again, I'll go back to the original tab, and that was all about model space viewports in AutoCAD. In this video, I will tell you about creating views in model space of AutoCAD drawing. So right now we have this drawing, and in order to see certain part of the drawing, you can simply zoom into that area and you can see that part in detail. But when you zoom out again, that view is permanently lost and there is no way by which you can directly move into that particular view. But using named views, you can save those views, and whenever required, you can recall those views. So in order to save these views, you need to access the view manager, and for that you need to use the view command or its shortcut V. So type V on the command line and press enter. So this will open this view manager, and here you can create your views. So right now we are in the model space, so the model views will be created, and for that I'll click on this new. Now give this view a name. So I'll name it as room 1. And now here in the boundary panel, click on this box. Now specify the area which you want to include in your view. So I'll select this area and I'll click somewhere over here. And then I'll click somewhere over here. So that will be the area which will be shown in our view. And now press enter and simply click on OK. And here we have the preview of view and all the properties related to the view, and the view name can be seen here in this model views tree. Now similarly, you can add more views to this drawing. So I'll go to new again and now give this a name. So I'll name it as kitchen. Again, make sure current display selected, click on the box and select the area. So this is the kitchen area. I'll select it completely just like this. Now press enter and we have the kitchen. Click on OK. And let's add one more view. So I'll click on new and this time I'll select hall. And now here we have the current display. Let's click on this define window, and this is the hall area. And now press enter again and click on OK. So now we have these three views included in our drawing. So let's click on apply and click on OK. So the views are added in the drawing, and in order to access those views, you can go to this option on the top left. So here we have this view controls, and when you click on this, you'll see a long list of pre-made views, and these views are especially helpful in the 3D workspace. Since we are in the 2D workspace, we'll look into the views which we have created, and those can be seen here in this custom model views. So here, when you click on this, you'll see all the views which we have made. So we have the hall, kitchen and room 1. Let's select this kitchen and the drawing will zoom into that area. Similarly, you can click on this view to change it to something else. For example, room 1, it will shift there. And in this way, you can add as many views as you want in your drawing. You can not only add these views, but you can also modify the existing views. For example, let's say that we want to modify this hall view. So I'll go to the hall view first. And now currently you can see that this part of the hall is selected. Let's say that we want to include this hatched area also in the hall. So for that, I'll select the view command. So I'll type V, press enter. Now select the hall. And now here select edit boundaries. And now once again create a new boundary for this view. So I'll click here and I'll drag it up to this point. Now press enter and click on OK. Now let's zoom out and go to the view. So I'll click on hall and here we have it. Now the hatched area is also included in our view. So in this way you can create different views and you can access them whenever required. Okay, so once again, it's the question time, and here is our question. You need to make a rectangle with 7 by 3 unit as the dimension, and this unit can be anything. It can be inches, mm, or whatever unit your drawing is in. And then assign hidden line type to the rectangle and a 0.5 line weight, and ensure that these properties are visible in the drawing area. So here we have this drawing, and I'll start with the rectangle. So I'll go to rectangle tool, click at a point. Now I'll type add on the command line and then 7,3 and press enter. So there we have it, the rectangle. Now we need to assign hidden line type, and to assign it we need to first add it in the list. So when I go to properties and I click on the drop down, you'll notice that we don't have the hidden line type. So we need to add it here. And to add it, I'll select other. Now click on load and select the hidden line. So let's scroll down. There we have it, the hidden line. Let's click on OK, and now it's added to the list. Click on OK again. So now it is added. We can assign the property. So I'll select the rectangle, click on the drop down and select hidden, and there we have it. Now the properties are also visible clearly, but in case the property of this hidden line type is not visible even after applying the hidden line type, in your case if it is looking like a solid line, then you can select it, then right click and go to properties, and from this property panel you can change this line type scale value. So you can either increase it or decrease it to give it a proper look. So I'll close it for now. Now we need to change the second property, which is the line weight of 0.5. So here we have the line width, click on the drop down, change it to 0.5, and there we have it, the 0.5 line weight. Now here we have a problem. Even after applying the line weight, it's still showing the line weight of original rectangle. So in order to see the changed line weight, click on this line weight display option on the status bar. And there we have it. The changed line weight is now visible. And if this line weight display option is not visible on the status bar, you can go to the customization and add this line weight from here. So that's the final geometry as per our requirement.